Firstly, can I just say thank you for inviting Emma and I here today at St Stephen's. We've been looking forward to it. I'm here this morning just to talk a little bit about Sanctus. Sanctus St Mark's welcomes asylum seekers and refugees to St Mark's Church in Shelton each week. I wrote all this, but whilst I was sat there with the beautiful singing, those words just stood out to me. Love others as much as you love yourself. So perhaps why I'm just talking, if we can just think about that. And the words that I'm saying. So our city here in Stoke-on-Trent houses over 1,000 asylum seekers. The main nationalities that are residing in the city at the moment are Pakistani, Iranians, Eritreans, Afghans and Sri Lankans. Is that better? Can you hear me now? The majority of asylum seekers are in the process of asylum. Some may think this is quite an easy asylum process, but actually it isn't. I know a lot of speculation is that asylum seekers come into our country, they claim all the benefits and live happily ever after. Unfortunately, that is not what happens. When the ladies and gentlemen come into our country fleeing terrible circumstances, they have to enrol and to become an asylum seeker, and then they are dispersed into different areas. They don't get a choice where they live, often having to live in really disgusting properties, actually, that might be hard to listen to, but they are. For instance, sharing a house with 8 people with one tiny bathroom, one tiny kitchen and one tiny lounge. And this is just how they have to live. They're not allowed to work. So isolation is a major issue for these special people that come to join us. Once they have been received... completely lost my plot now. Like I say, the majority are in the asylum process, but some are actually illegal. They've been refused even though they've been a resident of the UK for many years. Those refused stay here for safety. They remain here completely destitute, relying on friends and spending their lives sofa surfing. This meaning tonight on one sofa and tomorrow on another. So let's just reflect for a moment on that word, asylum. Asylum means a place of safety. So we may want to remember at this point that Jesus himself was a refugee. At the time of his birth, Herod was king of Judea. Herod was renowned for being a violent man. If he suspected that anybody wanted to be on his throne, he would have them killed. He even murdered one of his wives and 3 of his sons, who he saw as a threat. As the title given to Jesus at birth was King of the Jews, Herod misunderstood this and thought that Jesus would take his throne. So Herod ordered a massacre of all children under the age of 2 in Bethlehem and surrounding areas in the hope that Jesus would be killed. You can almost hear the crying mothers and distraught fathers who are completely helpless and unable to prevent this insane tragedy. They witnessed their babies being murdered. Can you imagine how hard that would be? Every parent loves their children and just wants them to be safe. Like Herod, there are still men who commit violence as a means to gratify their own selfish motives at the expense of others. As a result, even in our day, we are still seeing thousands of people running away from such violent men. As we know, before Herod's soldiers got to Jesus, God, through a dream, warned Jesus' earthly parents to escape to Egypt. Egypt was out of Herod's jurisdiction and he had no authority there. And so there began the journey of the great refugee. With this in mind, I'd just like to share with you a very recent event that has happened at Sanctus. It was an average Wednesday morning at St Mark's. Our doors were open and we were welcoming asylum seekers and refugees into our Wednesday morning drop-in. Little did I know that this morning was going to be slightly different. A new lady arrived. She had virtually no English, a beautiful, young but very frightened-looking lady. I introduced myself to her, explained a little bit what we do at Sanctus, and showed her and her 3-year-old daughter around our creche. Layla was quiet and very frightened. The morning was very busy as usual. There were some tears, many smiles. Craft activities were going on. Our English lessons were continuing as normal, and there was tea, toast and fruit on offer. Our colleagues from the NHS asylum team visited, and so did some colleagues from the CAB. A conversation came together between the different organisations and Layla. Throughout the working week, there was a few phone calls, and it transpired that Layla had 4 children in another country, and she'd been separated from them in her flee to safety. The following Wednesday, Layla returned. I quickly introduced Layla to Reverend Sally. Layla had been continually on my mind all week, and it was then that the story began to unfold. Layla was a refugee from Syria whose husband was killed in the violence. Both Layla and all her 5 children witnessed that murder. So she and her 5 children, aged 3 to 15, fled into Turkey, through Turkey into Bulgaria. On arrival in Bulgaria, they were put into the Harmanli refugee camp. Harmanli hit the news when Amnesty International reported on the camp in 2013. They found deplorable conditions, people held in metal containers, tents and dilapidated buildings without access to basic necessities such as proper food, shelter and sanitation. Amnesty interviewed a woman who was 6 months pregnant. She'd not eaten for 2 days and had to sleep on a mattress on the floor. A Syrian man that was seeking asylum told them, if you have money, you get out, otherwise this is where you stay. So in horrendous conditions, no way of working and hostility from the local people, Layla got her family out. She paid traffickers to bring them into the UK. The family was separated, as this so often happens. The traffickers that she had paid, her only hope of safety, promised to bring the older children separately, but they lied and took her money. She found herself here in the UK with her youngest child, penniless and desperately worried about her 4 children. She didn't speak English, only Arabic, and we don't speak Arabic, only English, so our communication was challenging. And yet, with the help of the other refugees at the drop-in and a translation application on an iPhone, she was able to tell us her story. The woman and her story touched our hearts. I looked across the table at Sally and just said, we need to go to them. At that point, Sally and I just knew that this was what God was calling us to do. One conversation led to another, and one contact to another. And so, through one of Sally's friends' contacts, who is a Methodist minister in Bulgaria, we were able to locate the children in a town called Haskofo, near to the border with Greece and Turkey, and supply them with food. All this within 24 hours. That was the miracle in itself. The children were together, though not in a safe place. Another friend of Sally's, Carol, lives in a small village called Kalensky in Bulgaria, where God had called her a few years ago to serve the Roma community. When Carol heard about this and the family's plight, she felt that stirring in her heart too. And she knew that she had to do something about this, so she offered to take the children in. And so, on the 12th of August, Sally and I flew out to Bulgaria. We were met at the airport by a Christian gentleman called Gary. We had a crumpled up map and a sat-nav that wasn't very good. And we piled into the car and we set off to find the children. We had an address, but really did not know where we were going. We drove for about 4 hours and we eventually found the right door to knock on. It was opened by 15-year-old Dalman. Sally just looked at Dalman. I stood and looked too. She said to him, I'm Sally and this is Vanessa. We've come from England. He looked back and he just said, we wait. That was it, just we wait. These children were waiting for somebody to help them, and simply because the church door was open to welcome refugees, we had been given this privilege of serving those who wait. The children trusted us enough to get in the car with us, and 6 hours later we'd reached the safe, warm welcome of Carol's kitchen table in Kalensky. She had prepared a little welcome gift bag for each of them, with toiletries, sweets and other gifts, and left it on their pillows. Sally and I will never forget the look on 11-year-old Noor's face as she sat on the edge of her bed, and it dawned on her that tonight she would sleep in a soft, warm, safe bed. This is just one of the many stories of Sanctus that I could share with you today. I could stand here all day and tell you story after story of many of our friends that visit Sanctus each week. Our project is strictly volunteer-led and run solely on donations. Each week, the 50 or so men, women and children that join us leave with essential food items, toiletries, nappies and other vital everyday products. We also support our friends once they've moved on and have received permission to stay in the country. This then in itself poses even more issues. I've brought Emma along with me today. Emma's a beautiful young Iranian lady whose life is in danger if she returns home. Emma has fled persecution and she has left her life, her mother, father and friends and family behind. I know Emma is happy to share her journey with you, her journey from Iran, her journey from being detained, her journey from London to the Catholic farm and here to Stoke-on-Trent, and her journey with Jesus too. So please, afterwards, over coffee, speak to Emma and just get a little bit about Emma's story and just see what a wonderful lady and strong, brave person that she is. And so all the asylum seekers and refugees have to be strong and brave. So what we do at Sanctus is walk the journey of asylum. We offer the hand of friendship that Jesus would, a listening ear, support and prayer, but most of all, our love as Christians. Thank you. Amen.